Today, I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite cash game plays for this Week 7 NFL Draftkings main slate. And like I always do here with these videos, I'll go position by position, talking about each play that's sticking out to me, and then we'll wrap up the video talking some honorable mentions. With that being said, let's dive right into it. Kicking things off here at the quarterback position, I'm going to highlight two here, and I'd love to get to one of these guys, but I have built some cash lineups throughout the week, and there's one quarterback who's listed as an honorable mention at the end of this video here that I do end up going to quite a bit, so make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video here for those honorable mentions. But the first guy that I want to highlight here is Patrick Mahomes, priced at $8,300 on Draftkings here this week in a matchup at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. The most expensive quarterback, and we need about 25 Draftkings points in order for him to hit 3x value, but this Chargers defense is just not great versus the pass, allowing the third most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks, and they've also allowed the sixth most passing yards and second highest yards per attempt to QBs. Plus, this game here between the Chargers and Chiefs has the highest implied total on the main slate this week, so there's definitely some shootout potential. Now, if I want to save some money at the quarterback position here this week, I like Geno Smith of the Seattle Seahawks. He's priced at $6,000, so we need 18 Draftkings points in order for him to hit 3x value. He's got a great matchup at home to do so versus this Arizona Cardinals defense. I don't want to say they're the worst defense in the league. I'd probably give that title to the Denver Broncos, but needless to say, this Cardinals defense is not good. They actually rank dead last in pressure rate this season, while allowing the third highest passing yards per attempt and the fourth highest passer rating. In reality, this is just a great spot overall for the Seahawks at home here against this defense. I'm going to be highlighting Kenneth Walker here in just a minute once we get over to the running backs, but again, if I do want to save some money at the quarterback position, I like Geno at this price of $6,000. Now, speaking of those running backs here, I want to highlight three as my core plays, but again, I do have some honorable mentions that I want to talk about at the end of this video. First one that I want to highlight here is Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders, sitting at $7,400 on Draftkings here this week, in a good matchup on the road against the Chicago Bears. At that price, we need 22.2 Draftkings points in order for him to hit 3x value, and this Bears defense just so happened to have allowed the second most fantasy points per game to running backs this season. Now, honestly, they've actually been decent at stopping the run, but for whatever reason, they cannot stop pass-catching running backs, and I just have to assume that Jacobs is going to be a volume monster here this week, considering that Jimmy G is out. Whether that be through the running game or passing game, Jacobs should see 25-plus touches in this game. Now, getting to Kenneth Walker here of the Seattle Seahawks, he's priced at $7,100 on Draftkings here this week, so we need 21.3 Draftkings points in order for him to hit 3x value. Again, this is a great matchup at home for the Seahawks in general. You can see here on the screen now, this defense ranks 29th overall in rush DVOA, plus they've allowed the 8th most fantasy points per game to opposing running backs this season. They've also had the 3rd lowest stuff rate, while allowing the 7th highest yards after contact, and as we know, that's kind of where Walker thrives. He's that boom-bust type of running back where if he gets open space, he can go for a long touchdown. But overall, again, just a great matchup at home here for the Seattle offense, so I definitely want exposure to that. And then one running back that I really haven't seen a lot of people talk about this week is Jerome Ford of the Cleveland Browns, but I like him at this price here of $5,100, heading on the road to Indianapolis to play the Colts. At that price, we need 15.3 Draftkings points in order for him to hit 3x value, and I like the volume considering the price. This is someone who's averaged 15 touches per game with Kareem Hunt in the lineup, and it's worth noting that Hunt has battled a thigh injury all week long and is listed as questionable here for Sunday. Even if he does play, I think he could be limited and very well could re-aggravate that injury. This Colts defense has been very average versus running backs this year, ranking 18th overall in rush DVOA. Now, folks, before we dive into the wide receiver plays here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Again, you guys have been awesome all year long. I truly appreciate every like, comment, and sub on this channel. It really goes a long way with YouTube. We're trying to get Slydog Sports here to 4,000 subs, grow this into a true sports brand, so help us out if you can. Now, one wide receiver that I'm pretty sure I'll be locking into my lineup here this week is Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, he's expensive here at at $9,500, but a good matchup at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where we need 28.5 DraftKings points in order for him to hit 3x value. Look at these numbers here since returning from injury. Kupp has seen a 34% target share, 47% air yard share, and a 42% first read share. Those numbers are hard to ignore. Plus, this one might be the best overall. He's had 4.51 yards per route run. That means every time he runs a route, he's getting you 4.51 yards when it comes to fantasy. That's absolutely absurd. So like I said, I'm pretty positive I'll be locking him in my lineup this week. Now, I'd love to go back to the well with Adam Thielen here this week, but unfortunately, he's not on the main slate. But one guy that I would be considering again here is Marquise Brown of the Arizona Cardinals. His price just remains in the low 5K range here, and considering the volume he's gotten this season, I think he has to be considered. Heading on the road here to play the Seattle Seahawks, where we need 15.9 DraftKings points in order for him to hit 3x value. But again, the volume has remained consistent with Hollywood, seeing a 27% target share, 43% air yard share, and a 33% first read share. Really love those numbers. Plus, the Seahawks defense, I know they got some really good corners, but that really hasn't reflected in terms of fantasy here this year, as they've allowed the most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers this season. And then I got Joshua Palmer here of the Los Angeles Chargers, and I don't want to say he's going to fly under the radar this week, because I know a lot of people have been talking about him, but I want to highlight his numbers here because they're definitely worth mentioning. For starters, he's priced at $4,800 on DraftKings here this week, heading into Kansas City, where we would need 14.4 DraftKings points in order for him to hit 3x value. Now, since Mike Williams was put on the IR, Palmer has seen a 25% target share, 39% air yard share, and a 23% first read share. Even myself, I was a little caught off guard by those numbers, but I'm absolutely willing to take that, considering this price in the 4K range. Plus, this is a game here where the Chargers are likely playing from behind, and overall will likely need to just throw the ball a lot if they want to keep this game competitive. And then I got a couple of tight ends that I want to highlight here, but for starters, I do want to mention if you want to spend up for Travis Kelce and or Mark Andrews here this weekend, I'd have zero problem with that. I've actually tried to make it work myself, but I keep going back to Cooper Kupp and spending up for those running backs, but that's not to say I couldn't pivot there this weekend if I really like something, especially Mark Andrews at $5,700. I think that's far too cheap, but the two guys that I'm going to highlight here today are value tight ends. The first being Jonnu Smith of the Atlanta Falcons, priced at $3,600 here this weekend, heading into Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers. We need 10.8 DraftKings points in order for him to hit 3x value, and he's basically become the wide receiver 3 in this offense, seeing a 14.1% target share and a 17.1% first read share. Don't mind those numbers at all considering the price. And he's seen at least 5 targets in every single game since week 2. If you just go look at his game log on DraftKings, you might be a little surprised at how involved he's been in this offense. And then if you're really looking to save some money at the tight end position, essentially punt here at $2,700, I got Michael Mayer of the Las Vegas Raiders, heading into Chicago to play a bad Bears defense, where we'd only need 8.1 DraftKings points in order for him to hit 3x value. This is a guy who played 81% of the snaps in week 6, saw a 19% target share, and over the last 2 weeks, he's had 3.16 yards per route run. Not bad at all for a guy priced in the 2K range. And then the defense that I keep going back to in my cash lineup here this week is the Kansas City Chiefs, but I'd have no problem spending for the Baltimore Ravens at $2,500 either. Both those defenses I think are just a little too cheap. The Chiefs here at $2,400 this week and taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, where we would need 7.2 DraftKings points in order for them to hit 3x value. Really, this defense has been great ever since the return of Chris Jones in week 2, averaging 3.2 sacks per game, and they've also forced 8 turnovers during that 5-game stretch. So again, I know there's a lot of shootout potential here, highest implied game total, but I think they're a little too cheap here at $2,400, and even if they don't meet value, I know I'm punting at this position. And then to finish up this video here, we're going to talk those honorable mentions, guys who are absolutely in my cash game pool this week. First being that quarterback that I kind of hinted at earlier. If you're really looking to save some money, I like Sam Howell here of the Washington Commanders, taking on the Giants this week. He's only 5.5K, where we would need 16.5 2.5 DraftKings points in order for him to hit 3x value. I got 2 running backs there, one being Isaiah Pacheco of the Chiefs, taking on the Chargers in the 6K range. Zach Evans, look everyone, I'm not thrilled about that play. I honestly don't even know how much he's going to play, but considering he's the bare minimum price for running backs at $4,000, he was worth mentioning. I know people are talking about him for cash this week. And then I got 2 wide receivers here, one being Christian Watson and one being Josh Downs. I like the price for both of those guys. Watson a little bit more at 5.6K, great matchup against the Denver Broncos. Downs does have a tough matchup against the Browns, but this guy continues to see volume, and his price really hasn't changed here in the 4K range, so he's definitely going to be on my radar. And then again, if you're looking to punt at the tight end position, I don't mind Trey McBride of the Cardinals taking on the Seahawks, where he's 2.6K, and we'd only need 7.8 DraftKings points in order for him to hit 3x value. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks. Let's win some money on this Week 7 main slate. In the meantime, I'm out of here.